All right, guys, welcome back. So today, basically, as you can see from the heat map above, everything tanked, right? So today we basically got a view of what was probably the pre crash to the ultimate crash that is actually on its way soon. Of course, given the Biden administration, the things that have been happening in the news lately, a lot of this is pretty imminent, and it's gonna happen no matter what. Now, right off the back, if you look at the heat map, basically you can see everything on this S&P 500 sank, right? So S&P 500 on the right side, you can see Dow dropped more than 600 points according to the Wall Street Journal's article, where they talk more about a lot of this over here. So if you're going to be buying stocks, if you're going to be invested in the stock market, knowing what's happening in everyday news is pretty much essential. You have to know and keep up with every single sector, or at the very minimum sectors that you may be involved in. Now on the heat map, which is a thing you can find easily on Finviz, so I'm just on the Finviz homepage, and it was right there, so you just click on it, you could look at the whole breakdown. You could see pretty much every major index cascaded lower. The small caps stumbled about minus 3.3%, followed by the Nasdaq's nasty negative 2.6%. The Nasdaq Composite is only up 1.11% in 2021, and things are not looking so good. If you really notice on the right side, you can see, and in the center, you can actually notice. So let me actually let me zoom out so you can see the whole thing. So you can zoom in, of course. You can see in the healthcare section, there's a little bit of green here and there, nothing major, but a little bit of green here and there. And of course, that's a given considering all the hard work that is going into coronavirus. And then on the right side over here, you can see with energy had some green to it. Other than that, all the other places, all the other sectors are red, right? So that's really bad. Communications, utilities, industrial, real estate, basic materials, they all broke down about 2% or more, and that's really bad. Not only that, over here on Robinhood, you can see the main cryptos that you can buy on Robinhood, and then of course anything else you would buy anywhere else, like Gate.io, or any of those other altcoins that are worth under a penny. Those things, everything tanked today. So you can see right now, given 9:40 p.m. today on the 12th of May, Bitcoin has sank a good 13%. It's under 50k right now, right? Which, as you know, dips are where you buy, right? So now one key thing to understand about crashes that are happening is that you need to see it coming. You need to see it coming. In fact, all day, if you look at Bitcoin from the morning, it had slowly just been going down, right? It hit 56. At some point, it went back up, and then it kept going, and it hit 55, 54. So by the time it reached 54, you should have kind of noticed what's happening. If you didn't, then of course after that, it kept going down towards 53, at which point all of a sudden, boom, the first fall happened. You see that, right? It stabilized for a good hour at 52. So now when you see that first big fall, that's a good indication that you should probably tap out, right? And it wasn't just Bitcoin either. If it was just Bitcoin that had that little fall, then maybe, hey, it's just Bitcoin burp and it'll come back up. No, it was everyone. Literally, look at Ethereum, same trend, right? Same trend basically, and then all of a sudden, boom, everyone had the same massive fallout right here after like 5 p.m. So you're a king if you actually have cash on you in the recession, right? In a fallout, in a dropping period, in a crash, right? Any of these things. So when this crash is kind of taking on now, you want to sell and you want to have cash on hand. You want to have your money ready so you can buy whatever you need to buy and invest into things while they're cheap, right? You want to invest into things while they are cheap. You want to grab everything as much as you can and develop your portfolio as much as you can. I mean, looking at me right now, I took out all my gains from the whole doggy week and stuff, right? Transferred a lot of it back to my bank account. As you can see, I'm also holding 100 shares of AMC, which has been going plus all of a sudden. So there might be some kind of squeeze coming for this all of a sudden right now. Might be something I'll put money into tomorrow, and grab like a shit ton of that so I can ride the wave up. And then of course I've been developing my ORC. So now I have 4,000 shares of it, and it went down a lot more today, which is more for me to incentive for me to go ahead and buy more copies of it, because I need to get as many ORC as as many ORC as I can before it comes back to anything higher, right? So you can see right here in March 2020 during the pandemic. Boom, it sank all the way down to a nice 357, which would have been the best thing. If I could have picked up 30 to 40,000 copies of this at 357, that would have been genius. I would be set. Right now it's back to the $5 range. You can see over the last 5 years it had always been declining a little bit just because of what's happening in terms of what Orchid Island Capital actually does in Florida real estate. But now it's going back up, and it'll most likely stabilize at this area and just keep going. But the dividends they pay are wonderful. The dividends they pay, the payout to cost ratio is wonderful, right? They give you 6 cents, 0.065 cents for every stock you own, and that's something that I'm developing as much as I can. I've been talking about this the whole time. You know, being down 1,000 doesn't even mean much over here anymore, because the point is to just keep, you know, grabbing more and more of the stock as much as I can. So this is basically where I'm just going to put my money and let it sit there and just collect dividends. Now this $65 is coming from the 1,000 I owned. It's going to take a while for the fact that I own now 4,000 to kick in, right? It's not immediate. So I'm getting paid for owning 1,000. Maybe in after 2 more dividends, or after this 1 more dividend I'll get after this one. So maybe in like May, June, July. So maybe in July or August I'll start getting paid for 4,000 of them, which will basically be times 4 of this, right? So recovering this loss is not going to be that big of a deal at all. It'll be very quick, but then I'll keep getting more back, right? And that's the thing. So when you have this kind of a red heat map, right, this is an indication today that everything is dying. Tomorrow some of it might recover. Throughout the rest of this week some of it might recover, but then it's all gonna sink more, right? There's a huge chance for that, because things are just going really bad, right? If you look at the news, basically this is what you're supposed to do at nighttime. You can see the things that might have happened that might have caused some of this errors, right? So you can see Elon Musk backtracks, says Tesla won't accept Bitcoin. That obviously made Bitcoin look really bad. Boom, plummet, right? Below 50K. That's really sad. Right? So that's something. This is a great buy-in opportunity, especially at this mini moment right here where it's at 47. Great buy-in opportunity if you wanted to, if you think it might come back up. I would still hold on. I would still wait, see how this week finishes, since we're already more than halfway through it. I've had very hard difficulty having mental clarity throughout this last month because of Ramadan, but tomorrow is going to be Eid, so that's wonderful. Ramadan is finally going to be finished for this year, and it's going to be back to full-blown mental capacity to really have the right decision making. Throughout the doggy phase, thankfully it was always after eating that most of these things happened, and SNL is a midnight thing, so it wasn't a very difficult thing to keep up with. But other decision making has been very difficult. You know, I did end up picking up some ETC, Ethereum Classic. I picked it up at 113. Of course it sank a lot more after that. Not a terrible loss, but if anything I'm looking forward to grabbing more of this. But you can see I cashed out most of my money into my bank account because I have some expenses I wanted to take care of, but I've left a lot of cash there, and that cash is not affected by this red heat map, right? So that's kind of what you want to be doing. You want to make sure you have your power there in a recession, in a crash, right? You want to have your power. You want to sell and be ready to buy back in at the dip, not fall with the crash, because then you're not going to be king, right? So you want to make sure you're ready with that mentality. A lot of YouTubers tend to disappear when things are bad. A lot of YouTubers don't really tend to share anything because they don't really have much to basically show off or brag about or anything like that. Don't really follow that, right? You got to be careful with that. There are very few YouTubers, if any, that will actually talk to you about what to do in bad times, right? And how you're dealing with bad times. What are your plans for bad times? So these are some very important things to watch out for. Right now, a lot of the stocks basically lost their support line, right? So if you don't really do much in analytical visualization, then basically support lines are usually lines that, you know, a stock might bounce on and then go back up, bounce on, go back up, and bounce on and go back up, but never actually go below that, right? And that's basically because you have a balance between buyers and sellers. And you can see here that, you know, with Ethereum Classic it's different. Let's look at Bitcoin. So you can see here with Bitcoin on the 3-month flag, right, that there is a bit different moments of support that have formed, right? Different moments of support that have formed over time. But clearly, if you really needed to focus on it, you can't create a very good support line here, right? There is no real support line here. It is going above and then falling down, going above and falling down. And each of these low points, March 25th, April 25th, and now here May 12th, right? And all the way over here in February 28th. These are all low points that are not really correlating with each other in any way to create a support line. So there isn't really per se a good support line for it, right? So at any point, if there was any support line, it has been broken, right? And when a support line breaks, it usually indicates the fact that you're going to go below even more, right? We saw support lines the most with Dogecoin, right? When this was happening earlier, right, April, when Dogecoin was starting to take off, we saw moments where it hit 42 cents, came back down, and then it had a nice support at 25 cents where it never went below 25 cents. Then of course it started going back up again, hit a good really high 42 cents, and then fell all the way back down, but still maintained that support of 25 cents. But then when it broke that support of 25 cents, it sank, right? Came to 20 cents. Ever since it has hit 20 cents, it has maintained that 20-cent support. You can see all the little curves that are occurring. This dip right here, April 25th, another dip right here on April 27th, right? These are all maintaining that 20-cent or 25-cent support line, and it's gone up. Now there's a very good chance after today where it broke this current support line from May. Ever since SNL stuff, it had been maintaining a pretty decent 40-cent support line where it was staying above 40 cents no matter what. So this dip right here, you can see it stayed at 42, happened again over here, 44, but today it went below that. Today it actually hit 30, what is it, 35, 33, 35 roughly, yeah, right? So because 36, so it went below that, and that's really bad because now it lost that support line. Now anything can happen, and how these support lines form and all that is a whole different, very in-depth conversation. But basically, since I already told you that it's a balance between buyers and sellers, when that support line breaks, more people panic and sell. So then the buyer support disappears and the sellers could kick in even more, and that's kind of what happens there. And it's very much possible that's going to continue happening there. So this is all looking really bad, right? So the best thing you could have done right now was cash your money out, put it into the bank and use it for anything you might need to, and of course have it ready to buy back in when the time comes, when you're ready to buy back in, when you notice that things have gained stability and things are looking green for the day again, right? So let's see how tomorrow morning looks, and then based off of that, we can go ahead and see if we want to put our money into anything, right? So we'll catch up again later on. Let's just hope for the best and hope for things to recover very soon.